Jensen here. Today we are making a curried cauliflower butternut squash soup with coconut milk, some sandwiches using ham, pastrami, and salami, so kind of like a feast of a sandwich. And then we are going to make a new batch of Aunt Aggie's cookies for Easter, and then we're going to bake up our last of our dough from our last ones, which are our Valentine's kind of themed ones that we have there. So a lot to do, kind of get it around here. So I'm going to get my onion here chopped up, and then we're going to start sauteing it off for our soup so we can start our butternut squash cooking up. And we'll get our cauliflower in the oven to roast for our soup as well. And then we'll work on our dough, and we're going to dye our dough some fun pastel, like Easter colors for it. Because, you know, I always like to make my Aunt Aggie's nice and fun colored. And then the kids will be happy because these are one of their, you know, favorite cookies. So I'll add in a little bit of olive oil for this, but just kind of a simple, kind of a curried soup on there. My mom wasn't feeling very good today, and this is one of her favorite soups. So I'm making it for her to have for kind of like a dinner on there. It'll be like our late lunch, their early dinner. Kind of works the best for both of us. Get these guys and kind of heat this up, and let's get our butternut squash. So take our butternut squash off from the other day, and I'm just going to slice off this little teeny sliver off because, you know, it always dries out and it's never quite as nice, and just be done with that little disc. And then I'm going to chop off the bottom here. And what we're going to do is we're going to give it a nice little peel, and then we will scoop out the guts and then dice it up. You know, whenever I'm like, you know, cutting up, you know, butternut squash, I always save the harder part for another day, and today is the other day. So let's get this off. And I always find it's easiest to just use a knife to peel your butternut squash and then try to use a peeler, because it is really hard to get around these edges, especially with squash. It's waxed so that it lasts longer, but it's not too difficult to peel with a knife. Looks like I got pretty much most of it here. And we're going to kind of cut this in half. And we're going to scoop out our seeds here because we don't need those. And I will say a little bit of butternut squash, so this is just the bottom bulb of it, is going to give us more than enough base for our soup on here. So a little bit, we're going to have some carrots, and then we have the cauliflower, so it will give us enough texture. Just going to scrape it out this way. Get all those seeds out. And then I'm going to give this a quick little stir here.
Yeah, a couple comments about your hair. They like it like that.
Oh yeah, I got out of the shower. You know, I did a nice, good workout this morning, and then Jackie and I, we put, you know, Teddy on the bus for his school, and then Jackie and I were playing outside, getting our yard kind of cleaned up. I'm planning their Easter baskets, and I think I'm going to do kind of like a garden themed Easter basket for them. So we were outside and got a little bit dirty, so took a quick shower real quick, and then put Jackie down for a nap. So my hair is still really, really wet, and I know if I braid it while it's wet, it won't dry. It will be wet like tomorrow when I wake up in the morning. So I'm letting it dry out just a little bit so that when I do braid it, because in a little bit, in like 20, 30 minutes, it's going to double and triple in size, and then I'll have like Chewbacca-esque style hair here. So it grows, it looks nice now, but it gets pretty unmanageable as it expands and expands. My hand's a quick rinse. My hair is very, very thick. It's not as thick as it used to be, but I remember as a kid, the hairstylist would go to and she'd be like, "You have the thickest hair I've ever seen." And same thing with my daughter. When she goes she has such thick hair, and a lot of times everyone comments that like when she braids her hair in 2 braids, she's like, your one braid is bigger. You're like 2 braids, one of those is bigger than their one singular braid. So it just expands and gets a little chaos after a while. So let's get these diced up. So you'll see it for a brief glimmer. It's pretty long right now. I need a haircut, trim it up. I always get this where it will grow long, 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 and then I like get the idea to chop it all off. Haven't gotten that idea yet, but who knows, summer, sometimes I want a big change. And when I say I chop it off, I like to donate to like Locks of Love or something like that. So I'll chop off a good amount of hair because I don't dye my hair or anything like that. So it's like natural hair, which is what you can donate. And I try to give them as much as I can, but enough that I can still pull my hair back into little baby braids. Okay, let's get these guys. And we'll toss these in just a second, but we've got our butternut squash here. Now, butternut squash gets pretty tender pretty quickly, so it's one of those great things to saute up. I prefer the sauteed flavor on it versus the oven roasted, but we are going to roast up our cauliflower here in just a second. But we'll get this up. I'm going to move this to the side because I want my onions to have a little bit of time to caramelize. And then we're going to throw in our garlic. I'm going to use a good amount of garlic. I'm just going to use up the rest of this bag for it because I realized I have a lot of garlic. Realized I was going through it. I have like 4 of these in my fridge. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to use it all up. So we'll give this a good mince. We'll throw that in here. And our seasonings today are going to be garlic, ginger, turmeric, curry powder, and then coconut milk, and then some chicken bouillon. So really simple, but delicious. And they'll all work really well together. And they'll play on the sweetness of the onions and the butternut squash and the carrots. And then I feel like cauliflower is just one of those veggies that just pick up whatever flavor you season it with. It's like a potato. We'll get that in there in just a second. Let me give these a nice stir. And okay, I'm going to move this again. We'll move that. I'm going to put my garlic on top of my onions, but I'm not going to mix it in yet. Now let's get this cauliflower. I was debating between to use whether I had purple cauliflower, but I know if I mix the purple and the orange, it will just be a brown soup. So we're going to keep with our orange, and it will be a lovely orange colored soup. I don't know if I actually need all of this cauliflower, so I think I'm just going to cut half of it. We'll see. I might end up throwing all of it in there. Because, you know what? I might throw all of it in there. I always say that, but then once you get off some of these, the leaves, you actually have a lot less left. It's not like the other day I had that, remember that really tiny little itty bitty purple cauliflower that was like the size of a or not even a softball, like a tennis ball. What's for dinner tonight? I have no idea. I'm thinking about it. I'm not sure. I do have 2 kind of whole chickens that I need to cook up. So I don't know if I'm going to do a roast chicken dinner tonight. And then I can use some of the extra during this week for something. Or I might get out fish. We'll see. I haven't decided yet completely. I haven't really set out my proteins for the week yet, so the options are limitless. I just know that the one protein that is ready completely is chicken, so it might be chicken, but fish always, dethaws really quickly, so I might do that. But we'll see. I don't know. There's too many options. I'll have to really think about it. See how I feel after this. So I've got my cauliflower on here, and then we're going to season this up, coat it with some olive oil, and then we're going to roast it in the oven. Some of this will go into our soup when we puree it, and then I will save a little bit of it to add on top. go. Get all these little tender things. I'm going to give a quick little stir of our garlic into our onions. Okay. And then we'll just slide this. We're going to give this a nice drizzle of our spices and our oil. So I'm going to use a little bit of olive oil and to kind of bring everything together. That way I can coat it up. So about like 1 to 2 tablespoons of olive oil. We're going to use a little bit of turmeric. Finally restocked my turmeric. I got the cardboard off, but not. There we go. Didn't want to come open for me. I love it when they make it adult proof. Can't open it. It's like if you ever buy like a kid's toy nowadays and it's like impossible to open. We're going to give it a good shake of turmeric, about a teaspoon or so. I find that turmeric has a pretty strong flavor and it can overpower. So I use a lot less turmeric in comparison to curry powder. So about a teaspoon. And then I've got some curry powder, which I'm going to use a little bit more of. I'm going to use about 2 teaspoons, so about double of it. And I love curry powder. Now, one thing is curry powder does dull out. So if your curry powder is old, it won't have as much flavor. So you might need to use a bit more. And then a little bit of garlic salt. Because again, some of this will be a garnish on top as well. And this also, just coating it, roasting it, and eating it as a side dish is one of my favorite ways to do cauliflower as a side dish. So you can, stop. You don't have to puree it into a soup. You could just eat it as a side. We'll coat it right up. We'll catch half the ones that I decided to throw off the pan. Break some of these up in a little bit smaller. And there we go. But make sure really coat them up with those flavors and then spread them out. They smell yummy. Give my hands a quick rinse. Oh, and our little gardening today, Jackie helped me pick some flowers, our little wild flowers or weeds, but he was very, very proud of them on there. And one of the flowers was this giant weed that was growing on our driveway. And my daughter was like, driving down, she's like, you need to pick this flower, this weed. It's blocking the driveway. And I'm like, Elena, you can drive around the weed. The weed is not going to do any harm to the car. She's learning how to drive and everything on there. We're just going to put these in here to roast, but when we bake our Aunt Aggie's cookies, I'll drop them out. Cauliflower takes between like 20 to 30 minutes to roast up, so it doesn't take too long for it. Let's get our butternut squash in here with the garlic and the onions to kind of start to saute up. And then once they've got a good saute on them, we'll simmer them with some chicken bouillon. We'll add some spices in, and then we'll simmer them with chicken bouillon and all of that jazz. And then we'll work on our Aunt Aggie's cookies. So we'll coat these up. I have them sauteing over medium heat, right around a 5. There. So just give them a good coating in that olive oil. Lovely. Okay, let's start on our cookies. So the cookies that we're going to make up, I have actually my final log here. So these are what I like to call like a freeze, like a slice and bake log that are so good. They're a mix between a butter cookie and a sugar cookie. So let me grab some parchment paper. There we go. And I'm going to put it on. We'll bake these up and then we'll make our dough. Because I just took them out of the freezer. I always like them to sit for a few minutes before I put them out of the freezer so that it's not a rock hard solid, but you don't want it to completely cool off. Let me grab a little cutting board. That way we can cut it on there. And I just wrap it up in like some press and seal. Again, these are what we've made up at, Valentine's Day for it. And we'll bake these up. When I make them, I typically make a double batch. Today I'm making just a single batch because I'm low on sugar. But we're going to do some fun Easter colors for it. So these is our pretty little purple, red, and white. I'm going to just cut off the bottom one. And then you're just going to cut them in just like these perfect, not too thick, kind of little slivers. And then we'll lay them out on our baking sheet. And they bake at 350 for 7 minutes. That's all you do. They're a very simple cookie. They've been in my husband's family from like the 1800s. They're called Aunt Aggie's cookies. And they are a favorite. And the best way that I can describe them as is a blend between a butter cookie and a sugar cookie. They just use very few ingredients: flour, butter, sugar, cream of tartar, baking soda, and egg yolks. So very few ingredients, so delicious, and definitely a favorite. And they're just always nice to have on hand because sometimes my kids will be like, oh, can we have cookies? Can you make cookies? And I always like to have a log in my freezer or two. So whenever I'm baking up the last one, I make a new batch. And I always dye them up for the holidays. So we'll put these out on our baking sheet and then bake them up. And they're perfect. I always say they're perfect about 10 minutes after they come out of the oven because then they've got this like perfect amount of softness to them. Okay. Slide this right here. Now they spread out a really small amount. So as long as they're not touching each other, they're fine, but the cream of tartar in them prevents them from spreading out too much. So you just need about like a half an inch or so between them. But Christmas, kids' birthdays, I have to ask, well, we'll do fun colors. I'll have to figure out what Teddy wants to do for his birthday. I already know what theme he wants to do, but I'll have to see what color he wants to do. He's going to do like ancient, like sea animals. So prehistoric sea animals. So megalodon and the Chronosaurus, Mosasaurus, Elasmosaurus. There's a lot of them. And he's very into those creatures right now. He's always like, search up this. And well, today, for his little surgery treat, we got him a, looks like those little right there. Perfect. We got him a little woolly mammoth. And so he found a little plastic elephant and we had to, let me grab a little scissor right here. He had to ask all these questions about elephants and woolly mammoths and how they were alike and how they were different.
Quick question. Are the different colors just food coloring or different flavors?
Just food coloring. So I make, and you'll see in just a second, I'm going to actually make a new batch of dough. But I make one big batch of dough and then I dye them up by working in the food coloring, which is just a fun way to add. You can totally keep it plain if you want to. But the beauty of these cookies is they're so simple. You don't want to add any extra flavors to them because the sugar butter cookie flavor is all you want. The simplicity of it is just so good. Again, I haven't met somebody who doesn't like these cookies. I made them. I remember Evie's birthday party, her little mock birthday party we threw in February. I made these, filled up a jar. By the time the sleepover was over, they were gone, all of them. Bake at 350 for 7 minutes. And this is a cookie you don't want to over bake because they are perfect when they're just barely baked up. Over baking them, they get a little bit firm and crisp, and my kids tend to like them when they are softer. Okay, my hair, as I tell you, is growing, and it is growing and growing, so it has to go. Gets too long. We'll go back for a minute. Let me give my hands a quick rinse. It's a little crazy now. Let's give this a stir. I'm going to add in some carrots to this. Then we'll whip up our dough for that because I realized I wanted to get these carrots in our base of our soup as well. There it is. I'm just going to peel them, dice them, toss them in there, let them saute. Then we can work on our cookies. The cookie dough is so easy. My kids also find that this is one of their favorite cookie doughs to eat. Both when I'm making it and when I come out and I have the dough frozen, they're always like, I will slice it, and as I'm putting them on the baking sheet, they are taking them off faster than I can put them on. It's one of their favorites. It's a pretty good cookie. Okay, I'll slide these guys over here. Let's get this in here. So I've got that cauliflower dust on there, but no worries. It's all going in the soup. And I'm just going to quarter them up because I want these to cook up a little bit faster. We are going to puree this soup so it will have a nice smooth texture, but we will save some cauliflower to add a little bit of a chunk on there later. Okay. So, lots of pretty colors. It's going to be a very orangish soup. And that color, or that lovely curry powder will just add into that golden color. Okay, let's give this a quick toss, and then let's go. I'm going to wash my hands real quick, and we're going to make these cookies. So you're going to start, because they're, again, very, very simple. I'm going to move the cookie dough out of the way. We're going to start by, and I find it's easier to do it with a stand mixer because you want to cream. Normally I do a double batch of this so that I can make 4 logs, but for some reason my sugar stock is low, and that just doesn't happen. This is all the sugar I have left in my house. Isn't that insane? So, gotta get some more sugar. We're going to add in 1 cup of butter. There we go. Make sure we get it on there. And make sure it's room temperature because you're chilling this later, so you want everything to cream together nicely. Cold butter just does not cream as well. Or it takes, I will say it creams, it just is going to take a heck of a lot longer. I have a little butter on my hands. And then we're going to add in 1.5 cups of sugar. And this is where I said you get the butter and the sugar, and it's so good. I know, I was sitting there and I actually pre-measured it out because I was like, I'm not going to have enough. Whoop! Lost my mic here, guys. Testing, still works. I was like, I'm not going to have enough to make 3 cups. So, but I know I have enough for 1.5. Barely. And I even checked my emergency backup sugar. Apparently, I depleted that stash a while ago. So I need to refill my emergency backup sugar, which is in my little decorative storage things over there. So yeah, just a smidge more. So 1.5 cups of sugar, and you're going to cream it with 1 cup of butter. I'll cream those together. I'm going to give my soup a nice little stir here, kind of coat it up. Mix all around, kind of push some of those onions and that bits of garlic that like to hide up at the top. And then I'm going to grab out 3 eggs. Now we're not going to use 3 whole eggs. We're going to use just the yolks. There we go. Want to make sure it gets in there. Sometimes it takes a hot minute. I'm going to use a rubber spatula to push the butter down because you want to make sure everything gets mixed in. And then at the end is when you're going to add in your fun colors. I always hand mix mine in. That way I can do as many colors as I want. But you could also just do a singular color. Or just keep it plain. And I will say I have a really big stand mixer, and one thing I find is when I have to do a small batch, it is much harder to do a small batch on than when I do a big batch. Whipping, like if I have to whip just 2 eggs in this, it's impossible. Okay, we need 3 egg yolks and just the yolks. So 1. And if you're really great with meringues or something like that, you can keep your egg whites for it. That is one thing I have never been able to master. Apparently, my husband, who can't cook anything, is an expert at making macaroons. He's made them, I will say, he's made them 3 times. 2 times they were perfect. The final time I made him try to prove it again, they didn't turn out as good. So, beginner's luck. I make them once, not great. Make them twice, not great. Make them 3 times, not great. Not making them again. One day. Okay, we're gonna cream in our egg yolks. And then just take your spatula again. But our timer is going off, and these cookies are very sensitive cookies. So we're gonna go grab our oven mitt and we're gonna take them out. They're really pretty cookies, but they are cookies that my whole family tells me that you have to be waiting by the oven on them so that you get them at the perfect time. Look at them. Gorgeous, beautiful. Do not try to take a cookie off the tray right now, because if you do, they will fall apart on you. They need to sit for about 5 minutes to firm up for that egg and the butter to set in them. And then I say about 5 to 10 minutes. They are perfect when they are warm and soft and amazing. These are one where my kids are like, tell me 5 minutes after they come out of the oven so that we can eat them. And when I say when they can eat them, it means when they can clear the tray and they will eat them all. They absolutely love these cookies. Okay, let me push down the sides, make sure, because we want to make sure our butter and our cream all get mixed together here. So we're going to let that cream up again. And while that's creaming up, we're going to add in some spices over here. We're going to add in some ginger for this. And this is ginger paste. So I'm going to use about a tablespoon of it. If you don't have any ginger paste, you can add in about I'm going to see if we're good on that. You can add in about a teaspoon of dried ginger.
Yeah, question. Do you have the recipe for the cookies posted anywhere?
Yes, I actually have the Aunt Aggie's cookies recipe available for everybody. You'll just have to go to our page and kind of search for it. I also post all of our lives, so you can always rewatch this live and cook along with me again. And this recipe is going to be in our cookbook, which we will have out very, very soon. We're doing our final last little touches on it. We're going to mix in our ginger. And then we're going to add in about 2 teaspoons of curry powder. Also knowing that our cauliflower is going to add in some more flavor.
Are these sugar cookies?
They are not a sugar cookie. They are a mix between a butter cookie and a sugar cookie. They are Aunt Aggie's, as we call them. Nobody knows who Aunt Aggie is, but
my grandma's aunt.
Okay, well, apparently my husband knows who she is from the 1800s. She's her grandma's aunt, probably great aunt. But they are a mystery. They are her cookies that have been passed down. She lives on in legend of her cookies. But we always tell, oh, they're Aunt Aggie's cookies. And everybody's like, well, what are these cookies? But they are a mixture between a butter cookie and a sugar cookie. They don't quite taste like a sugar cookie and they don't quite taste like a butter cookie, but as if they had a baby, these would be it. And they are delicious. Okay, we've got our turmeric in here, about a teaspoon of turmeric, 2 teaspoons of curry powder, and then we put in about a tablespoon of ginger paste. We're going to let that just cook up for about a minute here. Give it a good stir around, and then we're going to add in some liquid and a big scoop of chicken bouillon, and we're going to let that simmer for a second. We don't want to add in too much liquid because we are going to be adding in some coconut milk later. And so you don't want to add in too much so it's too brothy. So I have 4 cups here, but I'm probably only going to add in about 3. And I'm going to add in 1 cup right now of water. And we're going to mix it around. I am going to be adding in chicken bouillon, so it's the same as adding in like chicken broth. We're going to mix it up. Kind of give this a nice mix around, and then we'll add in a little bit more. I don't like to just dump all the water in at one time because I don't want to flood it. I like to slowly add it in so I'm not shocking it, and then I can really scrape off the bottom and really let those spices marry in. Add in another cup. And then we'll add in 1 cup more. And then I'm going to add in a nice big heaping spoonful of chicken bouillon, which is going to be my, like the salty part of my soup. And we'll let that simmer for a little bit. We'll add in our roasted cauliflower in a little bit. And we'll also save some. But we're going to let this simmer. And then once our butternut squash, which is already halfway cooked, gets nice and soft and tender, we will add in, we'll puree it up. Well, let's get these cookies made, and then we'll get our sandwiches made. Okay, bring that to a nice simmer. Okay, we've got our egg and our butter and our sugar cream together. Now we're going to add in a teaspoon of baking soda, and baking soda, not baking powder. 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and then 1 teaspoon of cream of tartar, which also sometimes goes by alum. Cream of tartar, this is important because these are kind of like a slice and bake, and it prevents your cookies from spreading out too much on there and keeps their shape. So 1 teaspoon. Put these over here. And then we're going to add in, once we cream those in there, then we will add in our flour. And then it'll be time to mix in our colors. Just don't steal my cookies yet. There we go. So I always make sure, push it down a couple of times and mix it. Now, when you do a bigger batch, you don't have to do it quite as much mixing because when there's more in your bowl, it mixes a little bit better when there's less because it can sit on the side, especially if you're using the big mixers. But we're going to get this here. And then we kind of just mix it around. We'll give it a good stir. And then we're going to add in 2 cups of flour. And that is all you need for the base of this cookie recipe. And then we'll color it up for our Easter. But I will say the base color of this cookie is kind of like a butter color because of the egg yolk and the butter in it. So it's not like a white cookie. It's more of a yellowish kind of tender color to it.
You know, question. Any of your kids show any interest in cooking?
You know what? A lot of them do. I will say Evie, Teddy, and Torn are very interested in it. I think Jack's too little to know. Teddy actually calls himself a chef, Chef Teddy. So, and he's cooked with me a couple of times, so he says he cooks all the time. And then Torn's actually pretty interested in it. He said he actually wanted to do some culinary classes in high school, so that surprised me. And to be honest, he has a really fantastic palate, so I actually think he'd be a really good chef. And then Evie's interested in it, and she's really interested in the baking aspect because I think she really enjoys being a taster. They're all excellent tasters for it, but they do enjoy cooking. They really enjoy cooking with my mom, which I think she's really great with them because my mom does it more that most of the time I'm always cooking to get food out. But when I do have the time to where I'm like making it more of like an activity and stuff like that versus like gotta get food out, they do really like it. Okay, let's mix in our 2 cups of all-purpose flour. We're gonna cream this together and it will form our base of our cookies, and then we'll take our dough out, and then it's the fun kneading in the colors, which is always messy, but lots of fun. It's kind of like the arts and craft part of this activity. But while we're waiting, I'm going to give my soup a quick stir. And then we can go check on our cauliflower and see how our cauliflower is roasting while that's creaming up as well. Grab my oven mitt, and then we're going to make our sandwiches up, which luckily are things. We're going to use the leftover brioche buns that we baked up the other day. Beautiful. I think these are just about perfect. We've got a nice kind of golden roast on them, and they smell fabulous. Now, this is a perfect side dish if you just wanted curried cauliflower. I love this, but it's also going to be fabulous in our soup. But I'm not going to put it in until a little bit closer because I don't want it to lose up too much of its flavor. And we'll save some to put on top to add a little bit of texture to our soup. Here, let me push some of this butter down on our cookies and get it all to mix in here. And we'll form these guys up. My kids will be very, very happy. They love Aunt Aggie's cookies. And once we've got our dough forming together, it starts out crumbly, which is why I always say it works best with a paddle mixer versus doing it with a hand mixer, because a hand mixer will make it two things. Then we're going to form it together into its main dough. There we go.
You have a question? When are you going to go back to your mom's outdoor kitchen?
You know what? Once the weather is fully nice and the pool opens up there, we've had these occasional like lovely, really warm days where it's been like 80 for a day, and then it's like 40. So once that pool opens up and my kids can swim in it, then we kind of head back over there, because I will say, like, my mom has a lovely house, but inside her house, I like to call it like an art museum. And it is not the most like, children friendly. You're like sit there and you're like run through the house to get to the backyard. That's kind of how we are. The downstairs is fine for them, but yeah, she likes her art and her little knickknackies, and that's perfect for her. But once we can be outside and fully enjoy the pool, where I don't have to worry about entertaining my children inside, that is when we will go back over there. And when soccer season isn't taking up every second of our weekend, which seems to be, that's always kind of the mid right here. I'm going to turn this down just a smidge. And then I'm going to just work this out on the counter. And then we'll kind of make it into our big lump, and then we'll add our dye in. So it's going to start off a little bit crumbly, but once you work it together, it's going to form one big ball. There we go. Get off all of it because my kids love this. And then we're going to work it, and then I'll divide it up into it. I'm going to figure out how many colors I want to dye this into, for our little Easter pastels. And also with the food coloring, it adds a little bit of liquid to it. So sometimes if your dough gets a little bit wet, just add in just a little bit more flour. Okay. I think we're gonna do a good amount of mix-ins because I just love the Easter colors. I'm like, oh, I got to go to the store to get all of my little Easter mix-ins so I can make. This week is going to be all Easter stuff because I really love all my Easter baking. It's just so fun and happy and springy.
You have a question? What are you looking at or feeling to know when the dough is ready for the mixer?
Once it starts to kind of get kind of those bigger crumbs together and everything is thoroughly mixed, it's one of those things where As long as all of your ingredients are mixed together, it should be fine. You can cream it until it all sticks together, or you can hand mix it together with your hands. So either one will work together for it. This isn't one where you have to be precise with the eggs or anything like that, because it's the egg yolk, so there's no whipping for perfection on here. Okay, let's get these guys.
Hope sent you a gift.
Oh, well, thank you, Hope. We appreciate that. I'm going to make in each one of these a little well. This is going to be to drop my food coloring in here. And that way we can dye them up and do our color mixing on here. But before we do that, I want to drop some of my curried cauliflower into the base of my soup so it can simmer for just a second. And then we'll mix these up and let that simmer for just a second. Let me grab a spatula. Now I'm going to keep some of this cauliflower to put on top so you can have some nice chunks of it, which is why we wanted to season it up for it. So I'm gonna leave some of those nice bigger chunks. We'll get some of these little ones to stew in here to soften up so that we can puree this up as well. Here we go. Beautiful. And then I'm going to mix it in here. We'll let that simmer for just a second here. I'm going to wash my hands. Just a second. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add in our food coloring for this. So with this, I always find that some you need a lot of food coloring to get those colors out, and some will pop in a little bit more. But let me pick out our colors. We're going to do green. We'll do a blue. Got to see what we have. Orange, purple, and we'll do a yellow. We got a nice little yellow here. And let's see, do I have any red for a pink? I think I used up almost all of my pink for Evie's. So we're going to say no pink, which means I'm going to divide these guys out.
You have a question. Do you stream dinner prep as well?
Yes. So when I stream, I'll stream. When we do stream our dinners, I will stream like our whole little thing on their making. So let's get these guys.
And about how many cookies will that make?
This is going to make 2 logs. 1 log makes about this much cookies here. So it makes a good amount of cookies. Typically when I do this, I'll make a double batch, which is double this. And then good amount of cookies here. So we're going to add in our food coloring. Here's a little bit of green on here. I'm going to add a couple little drops into each one, and then we'll work it in. There we go. And then we'll add in our purple, and then I'll massage them into it. Now, one thing if you're going to do with a lot of different colors, you're going to want to work the lightest colors in first, and then work your way up kind of through the color wheel so that you're not doing too many different kind of things on here. And then we're going to do this one. We'll get right here. And then I'm going to work this in. So we're going to start with the yellow because the yellow is my lightest color here. And we don't need to do much to the yellow to get it to the right kind of color that we want for this. So we'll give this a nice good mix here. And we're going to work it in. And we want it to be a really lovely pastel color here. And, just nice, fun Easter. So don't make your colors too strong because you don't want them to be, rainbow. You want them to be light and pastel. And they will bake up a little bit darker, I feel, than they are. Now, sometimes you just put in too much and you're like, oh well. But here we go. We've got a nice little light color here on it, and we're just going to work it in. I always think this is the fun part. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to our next one. We're going to do our orange. And then I put it in here. You're going to kind of close it up just like this. And then we're going to work it up into it. Now your hands are going to get dirty. Your countertops will get a little bit dirty. But then what you do, you're just going to, wash it off later. It's not going to make a big deal here for it. on
And
it.
you have a question. Do you make a big meal for Easter?
Yes, I typically make a pretty good sized little feast. We kind of do the same thing every year. I make lamb lollies with like, and then like a lamb roast. My kids really love lamb lollies. And I always say, I'm like, we get them at Easter because they're always so expensive, but I make them about on there, and then we do and doggy's got something. And then I have it with, we typically do Brussels sprouts and bacon, caramelized carrots. I'll make homemade, bread, a potato dish of some sort. So we do kind of have our little feast on there. There we go. Look at our beautiful orange here. Nice, fun pastel. And then I'm going to do my green color next, kind of going in our rainbow here. And we'll work this through. Beautiful. I always say this is like your arts and crafts. So if you have kids and they love doing this, my kids love to mix these colors in as well.
Any dessert for Easter?
So I will make a couple. I always go leading up to Easter. I make so many different treats for it. So I always make some sort of one. It changes, but I always make my Easter blondies. I have a couple different desserts. I make the Easter bread, with the dyed eggs braided into it. And then hot cross buns. So we have lots of different ones that I make leading up to it, but I don't have one that is like, just for Easter. It just depends how they hit. I'll make typically on Easter Sunday, I do a batch of, I do hot cross buns, and then I do a variety of different cinnamon rolls. I'll do like a lemon roll, an orange roll, and then a cinnamon roll. Do a little bit more green in this one. And then we'll roll these guys up together. But fun, fun, fun. Here we go. And then I just find it's easiest to hand mix them because this is a small amount of dough and it's just easier this way. Here we go. Beautiful. And we've got our green. Now let's do our blue. And we'll mix it in. And then I'll end on purple. So when I'm doing it, green and blue, you always try to mix the colors that aren't going to turn into brown when you mix them and add them together. That's kind of my method.
And what are these?
So this is going to be the dough for my Aunt Aggie's cookies. So we just baked up a batch of my leftover dough for my previous Aunt Aggie's. Those were our Valentine's ones. When I make them, I make a big batch so that I have them in my freezer whenever we want them. Because we just love these cookies. They're a mix between a butter cookie and a sugar cookie, and they're just so delicious. And I always dye them up in fun colors for the holidays. So we've got some fun little Easter colors coming in here. Nice little spring pastels. And then we're going to get our purple mixed in here. There's our little blue. It's like kind of like dyed eggs.
And the typical question, are they sugar cookies?
They're not a sugar cookie. They're like a hybrid between a sugar and a butter cookie. So they've got a lot of butter in them, and that rich butter flavor really pops through for them. And so I think that's kind of like the mix for them. They're wonderful. You make the dough up. You don't bake it right away. You chill it. It needs to chill for a couple of hours until it's solid in the freezer. And then you slice and bake. And they bake for 7 minutes at 350. And they are just so delicious. They are like a family favorite. And it's just one of those recipes. It's from my husband's family from the 1800s. And they're one of my family's favorites now. Like my like siblings love them. Everybody I've made these cookies for love these cookies. Okay. We've got the base part mixed up. And now I'm doing lots of fun colors for Easter. You don't have to do as many colors, but I like to do a lot. So we've got our Easter base here. We're going to mix them up, but let's get our soup just a little bit there. I'm going to wash my hands, and then we'll make we'll roll these up into our little rods in just a second. And then we'll make up our sandwiches. But that way our soup can simmer here. Let's get our coconut milk in. Shake, 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 shake for it. And then we'll whip up our sandwiches. And then we'll shape up our cookies. We're going to put in, you want to use coconut milk from a can, not coconut milk from like your fresh coconut milk from a carton. It is a completely different beast. This is richer and more delicious, and will give you more of that coconutty flavor in it. So coconut milk from a can. We're going to add 1 whole can in here. We're going to let it just sit for just a second, stir in here. I'm going to give it a quick taste, see if I need to add any more chicken bouillon or anything else before we blend it up. I want it to be a little bit stronger in flavor before I blend it. Here we go. There's a little hand is stealing cookies already. One of my older children are home from school and she is helping herself to cookies. They're gone. Not the cameraman this time. As I said, they love the cookies. She looked and she saw and she's like, I'm not waiting. I'm eating them now. That's how I'm surprised. That's why I said, they told you they love these cookies. And I say they want them as soon as they're out of the oven. That's how much they love these cookies. I'm going to slide this right out of the way, guys, so that we can get ready for our sandwiches. Which we're doing actually a very simple sandwich here. So earlier, was it Saturday, I made homemade fried chicken sandwiches, and we have some leftover brioche buns, homemade brioche buns. And so we're going to just make a really simple kind of a beast of a sandwich, I should say, with pastrami, ham, and salami on them. Well, thank you, Randia. We appreciate that. But these are so good, so delicious. I'm going to kind of cut them, toast them up, let them, get a little bit of a, warmed up inside. Grab my little butter over here, my butter paddle. Because, you always want your crisp up the inside of your thing. But these were, with our little fried chicken cutlets, were so good. And get these guys. And that way, when we're done, I can let my parents know, and they'll be over here in no time to pick up their dinner, their early bird special. So funny. We have on Sundays, we try to meet in the middle of when we eat, but most of the time it's my parents eating way later than they want to, and it's us eating way earlier than we want to, because we're late eaters and they're early eaters. It's just how our schedule works. Here, just gonna put a little bit of butter on the inside, because a toasted up bun is delicious. And then we can puree up our soup and we can let that simmer. And then we're going to shape up our rolls for our cookies and let those and then roll them up, which is really simple to do. Slide and get as much of these on here as possible. And beautiful. I think I can fit one more on here. I'll turn this guy on, just medium heat. That way we can make some delicious sandwiches. Okay, got that. I'm gonna get my Vitamix right here. We're gonna ladle in our soup, and then we can put it back in there after we puree it, and we'll let it just simmer and let those spices meld together. I'm gonna bring this down. Let me grab a ladle. And then we'll shape up our dough. Here we go. We're going to just put it all in here and we're going to blend it up. Blending it is going to make it nice and smooth. It will help incorporate the coconut milk and bring everything together. And then we will top it with some extra cauliflower to give us some little, it's like a nice little topping, a little chunk and texture to it. But the bottom part, the base of our soup, will be a lovely butternut squash, cauliflower, carrot bisque with curry, turmeric, coconut milk, and ginger. So we'll have just lovely base spices for it. It's just going to be wonderful. Like I said, my mom woke up. She's like, I'm just not feeling good today. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to make you one of your favorite soups. And this always seems to make her feel better. It helps clear everything out. You know how curry and ginger, it always clears out your sinuses. Let's get the rest of this, all of it in here. Now you can use an immersion blender, but again, I love to do mine in my Vitamix because I think it makes it smoother. It takes a lot less time to blend it up.
And you've broken several.
Yes, I will say, and I have broken every single one of my immersion blenders. I've gone through 3. So instead of buying another immersion blender, I just use my Vitamix. They don't withstand me in the kitchen. I'm gonna put it on my hot soup setting and we'll let it blend up until it's nice and smooth. And this is where you play the elevator music. Yeah. It doesn't need long. You can typically tell by how it looks is that once you see no more chunks, it's nice and smooth and beautiful. It's my cauldron. And then we'll pour it back in here. And you can see that it just has this luscious velvety texture to it. And again, that's from the cauliflower, the carrots, and the butternut squash. And then, of course, the flavors of turmeric, ginger, and curry powder. Beautiful, nice golden soup. It's going to be delicious. Set that right there. Okay, while we're waiting for these guys to toast up, because they're just about, let's roll out some of these logs. So press and seal or cling wrap, you want to roll out. You'll shape it and then you'll twist it up. I'm getting down to the bare minimum of this one. So you're going to layer it out like this. And this is a single batch makes 2 logs, which is, I always say is, 1 log per batch of cookies makes a big batch over here. And for this, if you want it to be like tri-colored like this, where you see a little bit of every color, you're going to make 3, or you're going to make a row of every color in it. Now, if you want it to be more tie-dyed color, then we'll do that on the second one. So for this one, so every color is in it, so it's like a rainbow. You'll take a strip and you'll kind of put the strip all the way through, and then you'll put it there. And then when we roll it up, that seals everything together. So again, fun arts and craft moments. There's fun different ways to combine them to get different looks. Like we can do a marbled one in just a second. And then I always just try to make it to where, you have, not too many of the super light colors next to each other. That way it really pops nicely. And the colors, they don't like bleed together or like turn, brown. It's one of those things that they really do stay out and are really nice. Add that there. Push it all the way. And then what you're going to do is you're going to just start rolling. And then you're just going to grab your ends and you're going to twist them. And that's going to seal them up.
You got a comment that it looks like Play-Doh.
It does. I always say it does look like Play-Doh. That's why I say it's arts and craft time. So you have them like this. And then once I've sealed up the ends, I just kind of, you roll it back and forth. And that holds all of those together. And then you're going to chill this for a couple of hours until it's nice and ready.
I just want confirmation. Chad is trying to blame me for these cookies missing.
They are not him this time. I will say I fully am on blaming the cameraman. 100%, guys. I am full. But actually, it was my oldest daughter. She came by. She saw that we had the cookies and she snuck by and her hands took them. She put 2 in her hands and 1 in her mouth and walked away with a greedy smile on her face because I said these kids love these cookies. Absolutely love them. So there was no getting away. She was going to, she took them. Otherwise, I would totally blame him. He was touching them earlier and was going to eat one. And I gave him a look like, you better not eat one. Okay, these are almost ready. So let's whip up this last one. But as you can see, fun. The last one, I'll show you how to do a slightly different technique on there. Hopefully we have enough cling wrap to get through this. Told you, apparently I'm running out of all my staples. That's how it is, You run out and it's like every staple is missing. We're going to make it work, guys. We're going to make it work. We can make it work.
And are these cookies in the cookbook?
They are in the cookbook. They are a family recipe. They are Aunt Aggie's cookies. They have, they're also available for everyone, and we will make our stream live for everyone. I don't think I have another one of here, but you know what we can use for it? Let me see. Hold on one second. I sometimes have a backup over here. Paper. You know what? We'll just have to do it with freezer paper, which works just the same. Not the cling wrap like I like, but I don't have any more of that. Press and seal is actually my favorite, but I had to go shopping in my mom's house. My mom has this addiction to buying holiday press and seal, and she has about 20 holiday press and seals for every holiday. Does she use the holiday press and seal? All the baking and cooking she does, which is 0. She does not do any. So whenever I need press and seal, I just go over there and I take one and get it there. So I need to go and visit her and take some press and seal. Apparently this does not want to come out for me, guys. Why do they make these so difficult for us? Let's see if the challenges. Everybody else have these challenges? I sure do. It's like the Scotch tape, and you're like, how am I supposed to open this up? Okay, so this is like, freezer paper, so it's like smooth on one side, paper on the other side. This works as well. It doesn't roll up as nice, so with this, I always will put it in a Ziploc baggie as well, just to protect it a little bit more because I can't get that smooth end on it. But we're going to roll it this way. I'm going to use this as my weight until we're ready to roll, guys. Okay. For this one, we're going to do a slightly different technique. We're going to throw these all down on here so we can see, guys. We're going to do kind of like crumble them apart. And this is going to give you more of a marbled technique. And then we'll push them together. This one's pretty easy to do too. So you're not going to get every color in every one, but when you mix it together, it will look more like more unique. See, I really think I could have gotten it on the other one. Wishful thinking. But you see how when you move it here, it's not uniform. It's more, kind of like Nickelodeon-esque back in the day. Pop all of those little crumbs in there. And then the same thing, what you're going to do is you pull on one end. You're going to roll it up just like this. Move that out of the way. And you can't see how beautiful it was going to be because we've got it on this. And then you're just going to slide it back. And then we have the Beauty and the Beast. Okay, let's get these guys finished up here. Let's get our sandwiches. We've got our toasted brioche bun. Gorgeous. And then we're going to have our cauliflower for our soup that we'll put on top here. So you can see a couple of how it's going to be. But when we serve it up, we'll put it on top of our soup. But just like that, we'll serve it up lovely. Let's get our sandwiches made. And we'll be able to feast on the list. Okay. So we've got, this is our sharp cheddar cheese. We'll put a nice slice on each one. We'll have to kind of make a little patchwork quilt here. You can wait your turn for your, let me see where we get to it.
Brenda's done chicken.
Thank you, Brenda. I'm going to give you your cheese tacks. Here's your cheese tacks. There. You can have some more the second round. He is such a greedy Gus. Not like he's not going to eat a sandwich here in a little bit. Okay, we've got our pastrami. This is my clean out my meat drawer day. So I have like a little bit on every little meat. So a little bit of pastrami. And apparently we'll find one more gets a double. Winner, winner, chicken dinner for that one. And then we have ham. We'll add a slice of ham to everything because the flavors will all work really well together. They'll be simple, but kind of bring the flavors together. A slice of ham, and then they'll go well with our soup because I think our soup is so strong and unique that all of it will work well. A slice of ham, and then we have our salami. And I will say pastrami and salami are both strong, but they're going to be strong in the same direction. So they'll complement each other. They won't kind of combat with each other. They use similar spices. We'll do 2 slices on each. And they'll work well because our brioche bun is got a nice, you want 3 on yours? Okay. I was just going to do 2, but apparently that is 3. There we go. Look, you get a 4th. You win. Look at him. And then we'll add a little bit of lettuce. Not for yours. I understand. It's like I haven't been married to you for, too long. Almost 2 decades, guys. Almost. 2 decades, too long. And then some tomatoes. Again, I know not for you. But for my parents and I, we like our tomatoes. And if you've never used a bread knife to cut tomatoes, it's like the best. Let's add those on. Oh, I'm sorry, it touched your sandwich. Beautiful. And then we'll finish off with the second layer of cheese because every sandwich needs 2 layers of cheese. I promise you, it's true. It's a law in this house. Here we go. And we'll top it off with our nice crispy brioche buns. Beautiful. And then let's serve this guy up. Okay. Let me grab a plate, a bowl, and deliciousness. Grab those tomatoes before they touch anything else. Okay, let me grab my blender right out of the way. Oh, thank you, Brenda. We appreciate that. Okay, let's take this guy. He's a beauty. For lunch today, we have our beast of a sandwich. This is a pastrami, salami, and ham sandwich on our homemade brioche buns that we toasted up. And we are going to serve it with our curried cauliflower butternut squash soup with coconut milk, carrots, onions, garlic, ginger, turmeric, and chicken broth for an absolutely delicious soup. And then we are going to add some roasted cauliflower on top for just a little added extra texture and deliciousness. And then, of course, we will serve, a couple of our famous Aunt Aggie's cookies, and these are just how soft and delicious and amazing they are, guys. Again, best cookies ever. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I try to do live cooking shows every single day, kind of show you what we're making for our family and hopefully teach you guys something along the way. Again, we do upload all of our videos to the link on our page. So if you ever want to recreate any of these recipes at home, you can just go to our page and search for what we made, our curried cauliflower soup and our Aunt Aggie's cookies, and you can always watch and cook along with us again. We also have a link to our Amazon storefront that has all of our different cooking gear and gadgets in it. I've got my stand mixer, Vitamix, my Dutch ovens, knives, cutting boards, all the different things that I use in the kitchen I have in there for you guys to check out. But again, thank you so much for joining us here. Don't forget to like and subscribe.